Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome, everybody, to the Hockey Think Tank podcast, brought to you by the hockeythinktank.com, website for all players, parents, and coaches to go to get a little bit of education and a little bit of inspiration regarding the greatest game on the planet. What an episode we have for you guys here today. We are bringing on Drew Shore. This was a phenomenal conversation. A little bit about Drew's background. Grew up in Denver, Colorado, played his junior hockey for the U.S. National Team Development Program before going on to play at the University of Denver for 3 years, where he was a captain his last year. Had a great pro career, almost 100 games in the NHL, over 200 in the AHL, another 150 over in Europe. Now today, he is an awesome entrepreneur. He's got a podcast called Betting the Limit, and he's also involved in the hockey agency business as well. He's got his hands in a lot of different things. Such great perspective on the game. But before we do get over to Drew, let's bring on the talent of the podcast. One Jeffrey J. Who Tapman, No Tooth Lavecchio. Vex, what's shaking bacon today?
Wow. That was fluid. That was fluid but powerful. That was nice. Well done. I love that. Love that. Bro, just living. Christmas break, last day of the before Christmas break starts for me for TPH St. Louis. So I got 2 weeks off from the kiddos. So that'll be nice. Got a bunch of college guys, junior guys home for Christmas break. That's one of my favorite times of the year.
Yeah.
Because very low pressure. I look at Christmas break workouts, and I always did my whole career as you do anything and it builds confidence. Because most guys are going to go home, especially on a short break, not work out, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's totally fine.
Something.
Yeah, especially if you need it. I think you should do something to keep the machine, keep the oil in the machine running, everything like that. But if you work out at all, I look at it as a confidence booster. And I felt like it kind of always worked as a slingshot for me into the second half, because I would just tell myself the narrative. Everybody else is going home for 4 or 5 days, because that's all we used to get. You and I were always leaving on Christmas Day. Juniors, well, you lived at home. I didn't. But I had to be home on Christmas night. Juniors, college, and most of my pro years. Like, it was crazy. These kids are getting off already. Like, they're getting like 10, 12 days off. And I'm like, oh, man, that is wild. Yeah. We did not have that luxury. You were always leaving Christmas Day at like Christmas when you were in college, like mid-morning.
Yeah,
like
we had
Grandpa had to get those presents ready early for Toph before he left.
Yeah, we always had that tournament in college down in Florida that you played in once, but we didn't get to play each other because I think we won and you lost. Yep, that's right. Yeah, we're not one Western loss. That sounds about right. Anyways.
That was true. But anyway, so Christmas workouts, really good time. Get to see a lot of my college and junior guys and have some fun in there in a low pressure situation. So
actually, you know what?
Been nice.
I got to hang out with the last couple days one of your former junior hockey teammates.
Landon?
Up here. I am in Cambridge, Isanti, Minnesota. Chris Hepp.
Oh,
yeah.
Beauty. Let's
Hepper.
go.
Awesome guys. So
Great
their
guy.
youth organization is one that we work with the Hockey Think Tank. And so got to spend a couple days up there with him and the kids and the coaches, and just a phenomenal time. Absolutely phenomenal time. Today I'm in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, working with the high school team up here in Eden Prairie, one of the top high schools in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. They won the state championship, which is a big deal. Not too long ago, I believe it was 2021, they won the state championship, but guys like Casey Middlestat went here. And but yeah, being up in Cambridge, Isanti with that group right here, honestly, and we were talking about a little bit about this earlier, like I don't want to say I'm burnt out. But I'm feeling kind of tired and feeling kind of lonely fighting these youth hockey battles.
from fighting the negativeness and
and just hearing all that, like, over the past little bit, we've done some podcasts and we've sent out some stuff on social media about some of the problems that are going on within youth hockey. And I've gotten so many texts, so many emails, so many DMs, a lot of from people that I don't even know. But listen to the podcast and things like that, just on some of the horrible experiences that they've had within youth hockey. Parents feeling pressure to do X, Y, and Z, kids falling out of love with the game because of verbally abusive coaches that all they care about is their ego and winning, and coaches who are burnt out because the parents and their expectations, and like it's weighed a little bit heavily on me. I think I'm an empath, and I kind of feel that stuff when I read it or hear it and stuff. So it's kind of been a little bit physically and emotionally and mentally draining for me. But I'll tell you what, being up here in Minnesota and seeing how things are done up here really has reinvigorated me, because you see what's going on. You're like, this is how hockey needs to be done. This is how hockey needs to be done. You have so many kids that absolutely love the game. You have so many kids learning the value of the logo on the front of the jersey because they're playing for their community. They're playing for their town. They're playing with kids. I did a captain's meeting with the Eden Prairie guys last week to kind of get ready for the team building that I'm going to be doing with them today. And they're like, yeah, like they're seniors. And they're like, we've been playing with these guys for 15 years, since we were 4 or 5 years old, and we've been on the same team, and we grew up together, and now we get a chance to potentially win a state championship together. Like that's what hockey's all about. And we've lost so much of that. So when I said like being in Cambridge for the last couple of days, and obviously I'll get the chance to work with Eden Prairie today, like, man, it's just so good for my hockey soul to kind of be up here and be immersed in it, and so many good people, doing things the right way. And that's not to say that other people aren't doing things the right way in other places, but like this community-based model is it's what hockey should be about. It's what youth sports should be about at the end of the day. And so, yeah, I was a little negative, and probably still will be, because again, this stuff weighs heavily on me, just hearing all these stories and things like that. But like, it's been really cool to be up here and be immersed in it. It's just so awesome.
That's so cool, man. It's like, it's the way hockey should be, honestly. And you know what? While you're talking about that right there, something just dinged in my head. And you get older, you get more wisdom. The only way you can get wisdom is through experience and age and all these things. And I remember everyone in the USHL always chirping all the Minnesota kids because they had so much pride in their high school and where they came from, and all they ever talked about with each other was, "Oh, I'm from Burnsville. Oh, I'm in Orono. I'm." We'd be like, "Shut up! We're all in the USHL now. Like nobody cares about Minnesota high school hockey." But wisdom, age, it's because they have passion. They care about the name on the front of the jersey. They care about the community they come from. It's built in them for decades. Like you're saying, some of those kids have played together for 15 years. How freaking cool is that? That is amazing. The state tournament in Minnesota sells out an NHL arena every single year, every game. How freaking cool is that? Community-based model. It's so dope. And I can't believe that I hadn't reflected on all of us chirping all the Minnesota kids in like a fun way, razzing them, like, hey, shut up about Minnesota, and you just saying that, I was like, wow. I immediately went back to being in the Lincoln Stars away dressing room playing for the Omaha Lancers, and I remember us chirping all the Minnesota kids like, shut up about Minnesota hockey.
It's kind of similar in pro locker rooms with the major junior guys making fun of the college guys. Oh, great. Like, yeah, you're so proud of your school.
You're right.
Same thing, right? Yeah.
Right. But it's the same thing because you have so much pride in your university because you play there 2, 3, 4 years, depending on, who you are before you go pro. And there's so much pride in the university. It's like, it's just this thing that's bigger than one single person, which is the opposite of how a lot of youth hockey is now. So that was, wow, that was kind of like a huge light bulb that just went off in my head there.
We've always been big believers and talk about the value and the importance, even in development, of playing for something bigger than you. Playing for your town, playing for the logo, playing for your school, playing for the guy or the girl next to you in the locker room. When it comes to development, that's a big part of it. And we've lost a lot of that in youth hockey today with the me, how can I make it kind of culture that we have. But the other thing, went ice fishing for my first time. Ice fishing for the first time. It was unreal. So one of the guys, Chris and Cal, they took me out on one of the lakes out there, and I haven't been fishing in 25 years. And I've never been ice fishing. And so it was cool. I parked at the boat launch. I put on my skates. I skated out to the spot that they were fishing, and it was a great time. And I can see why people love it. It's so like there's just solitude, right? It's just kind of like you turn your phone off and you just actually, I shouldn't say, I FaceTimed them and I was like, hey, guess what I'm doing right now? And she's like, where are you? I was like, I'm ice fishing. And she's like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, yeah. But again, like just great people up in Cambridge Ice Santee, and they're doing such a great job with their kids and they care so much. And like, it was really fun to be able to collaborate with them on a lot of different things and got to go ice fishing for the first time too. So I got the full Minnesota experience. It was unreal.
Did you catch any fish?
Yeah, I did. I caught a couple.
Were
Yeah.
they pretty? What size? Were they pretty?
No,
big,
they
or?
weren't that big. Maybe, I don't know, 6-7 inches. Nothing crazy.
Because I did ice fishing with my coaches in Japan. They took all three of us imports ice fishing in
no
Japan.
way.
But we were fishing for like, they weren't minnows, but they were like,
Little
they
guys.
were probably like 4 or 5 inches long, but like really skinny. And dude, I didn't know this. Like, I'm not like a fear factor eater. Not about that life. All right. And so we caught, like, you just put the pole down, you catch them.
Yeah.
We take them out. We go into the room, off the lake. They deep fry them right away, and then you eat them whole. And I was like, nah, guys, I'm not about that life.
No,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'll catch them for you guys. You guys can fry them and eat the face off. Fine by me. Go ahead. So I was like, I bet you didn't do that.
Eat their face off, he says.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this was an awesome conversation with Drew.
Great man.
Just a wealth of knowledge and perspective on his career, and he's got some great stories. And I think this is a great episode for young kids to listen to. A great episode for kids that like have a dream of playing higher level hockey. And it's always awesome when you get guys on here who kind of talk about the ups and downs and kind of how they got through some of the stuff and the lessons that they learned and things like that. And and he had a couple social media posts that we kind of went over that went viral on Twitter that we kind of went over and got his perspective on those things. And just a really smart hockey guy, a really, really smart hockey guy. Again, captain at the University of Denver, played at the NTDP, played for however many years pro hockey. And now giving back. And so, yeah, it was a really, really cool conversation and really looking forward to getting over to him. But before we do have some people to thank. First of all, we want to thank our title sponsor, icehockeysystems.com, the best website out there for all the coaching education needs. We were actually talking about this with the Cambridge Ice Santee guys yesterday. They have ice hockey systems for their whole organization, and it's just such an absolute value add for all of your coaches. And so go to Ice Hockey Systems today. They got thousands of drills on there that you can use, whiteboard explanations on systems and structure and concepts and stuff from high-level hockey people, and ability to go in there and draw up your drills and share them with your coaches, share them with your players before practice. We've partnered with them on that associations platform where you can get this for every single coach within your organization, build an organizational library of practice plans and drills. It makes it so much easier for the coaches in your organization. So go to icehockeysystems.com today, check that out, and I will let Jeffrey have the microphone now.
Thank you, Topher. I want to thank Train Heroic. Train Heroic is an amazing app that allows me to train so many teams, organizations, and individuals year-round, whether it's off-season training or in-season training. I actually just signed up a new North American junior team last night. Amarillo Wranglers decided to start working with me here, so I can help your team have quality workouts based around their specific in-season schedule. This is not a plug and play. It's not drop in random workouts whenever. It's based for the higher level teams, high schools, midget AAA, junior A, college, pro teams. I base the workouts completely off of the team's schedule, travel schedule, practice schedule, days off, everything, all for an extremely low price. So I cannot thank them enough. Moms and dads, if you're looking to get in better shape, starting January 1, or why wait today, you can join my Give More, Be More training program, which is my exact daily workout routine. I have over 230 people right now. They're doing with me every single day. It's worth probably a couple $100 a month. I do it for $35 a month because all I like doing with my life is helping people get juicy. So thank you to Train Heroic. Also want to say thank you to Cured Nutrition. You guys know 14 conks. Got to have all the help I can with the old noggin juice here. I take CBD twice a day, every single day. The last couple months, I've been taking Rise in the morning from Cured and Zen at night, both CBD products. I'm all about plants over pills whenever possible. You can reach out to me anytime to talk about CBD. I had somebody reach out today, a retired hockey player who's having some back problems, started using CBD 2 weeks ago and is already noticing massive improvements. The stuff's pretty cool. So please reach out to me, any questions, or go to curenutrition.com. Use my discount code GMBM.
Okay. Also want to thank Helios Hockey. Unbelievable product. This is a sensor that you put into your shoulder pads that gives you real-time data, real-time feedback when you are out on the ice. When you move, it tracks that you move and gives you data and feedback on things like your stride, length, and mechanics. They give you a hustle score, which all the young kids absolutely love. And also the game changer is it pairs up with whatever video that you are using, your iPhone, your iPad, camera, Live Barn, whatever it may be, and you get your shifts cut up for you directly after the game. Absolute game changer. And Helios has a holiday bundle that they are offering during the holiday season. So what do you get with this holiday bundle? That you get a discount with the coupon code Think Tank, one word. What do you get? You get a pro annual membership with the free sensor. You get a limited edition Helios hat, a performance shirt, and a Helios water bottle. And yes, you are getting that discount. Think Tank, one word, get 20% off of that. And they are running 24 and 48-hour flash sales throughout the holiday season. So make sure you use that coupon code Think Tank. Awesome holiday gift to be able to get your kids. Also want to thank Crossbar. Crossbar is a game-changing software solution for all youth hockey programs. So many people that I know have changed over to Crossbar from whatever back-end website design that you were using. And it literally is a game changer. I kid you not. The hockey directors that I've talked to and the presidents that I've talked to that use Crossbar now, they're so incredibly happy with the changes that they've made. So what do you get with it? You get a really sleek and interesting and really kind of simple website design that's really easy to use. Registration for the season, registration for drop-ins or clinics or lessons, things like that. Very easy to use. There's a club schedule for the organization, a communication app to communicate with your parents and your teams, financial tools, volunteer management, facility management. It's all in one place. This thing is awesome. So go to crossbar.org today and check it out. Check it out. Game changer, like I said. And also want to thank all of you who continue to listen to our podcast. Merry freaking Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays, everybody. This is the best time of year. Vex, I'm going to see you in about a week. Can't wait to see you in person and see your lovely bride, who I believe it's her birthday today.
Yesterday.
And little baby Sophie. So, if you guys can do us a solid, we appreciate every like, every comment, every download, rating, and follow. Anytime you can interact with us, either on your podcast app or, just with us on DMs through Instagram for Vex, Twitter, and whatever you want to do. Instagram with myself. Man, we love conversing with you. And if you can do us a solid and interact with our podcast on these podcast apps, it goes a long way to helping us to spread the good gospel about the positivity in hockey. And so we would appreciate that. So with that, this is a phenomenal episode. Drew Shore's great hockey player, great guy. You're going to absolutely love this one. So without further ado, here we go with Drew Shore. There's nothing like seeing an NHL game live. The toughness, the speed, the excitement. Every time I get to go, I absolutely love it. I've been to a few games this year, and for the best place to get tickets, you have to visit Game Time. I've used the app to get not just tickets for NHL games, but for other things like concerts as well. It's really easy to use, especially for those not as astute with technology like myself. I've used it to actually check out all that's going on at the United Center where the Blackhawks play in Chicago for concerts and other things, and it's really awesome. You can search the app by team, by performer, or by venue, which is great. You can actually see the seat view, which is really cool from where you're going to be sitting, and they have curated deals for you to make things simple and easy for how you like to shop. Honestly, it's just so easy to use, and it also provides you with the opportunity to save money on tickets no matter when you buy them. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. It's the most wonderful time of the year for getting in all the hoops, football, and hockey action at DraftKings Sportsbook. In the season of giving, we're being gifted college football and basketball, pro football and basketball, and pro hockey too, almost 24/7. And here's the gift for all new customers. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you just bet $5. Happy holidays from DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball. We are so excited to have on this episode of the podcast. He's out in beautiful Denver, Colorado. We got Drew Shore. Drew, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. Excited to kind of connect with you guys and get rolling here.
Yeah, for sure. Now you have your own podcast. What's it like being on the other side of it now? Just being the interviewee, not the interviewer.
It's way easier. This side's way better. You just show up and answer questions. You don't have to do any prep. You don't have to do anything. So this is great.
So it kind of sounds like that. I love it. I love it. All right. So the Shore hockey family, big hockey family out there in Denver. You have three other brothers that played college hockey as well and played professionally. One of them played at the place that I hate the most in my life at Harvard, being a Cornell grad, but we won't have to get into that. But, being a Shore, hockey was obviously a big part of your childhood, but what was it that got you to fall in love with this great game?
So when I was about 3 or 4 years old, that's when the Avs moved from Quebec. I think they won the Stanley Cup in, I don't know what, I think it was 1995. So
96,
96. I was like super fortunate. I tell people all the time, I had two very athletic parents, but they knew nothing about hockey. Neither of my parents could really skate. My mom was a professional tennis player and swimmer, and my dad played soccer and lacrosse. So they just, as sports fans, had kind of that playoff run on TV when the Avs won, and I was a young kid and just kind of watched it with them and then fell in love with the game and was fortunate to have some brothers who liked it too. So it gave us something to do pretty much every day, all day when we were growing up together.
Yeah. How much was that like competitiveness between brothers, like a big part of your childhood? Just, I'm sure basement or driveway, garage, street hockey. Like, did you guys do it all the time? What was your experience like with your brothers?
Yeah, it was amazing. And I feel really fortunate just to have three because it was like, it allowed us to be like 2-on-2 and everything. So whether it was like basketball, football, like it was just like a great dynamic, video game, anything as kids do. It was just a great dynamic of like having four. It was normally me and my brother Quentin versus Nick and Baker. We're just kind of the teams and everything. And they're kind of still the teams, even as we haven't really grown up. And I'm 33 years old and we're still battling on whatever we're doing. But it was amazing.
That's unreal, man. And those early years being young, those Avs teams were sick. And my podcast partner here was obsessed with Joe Sakic. Growing up, Vex?
What a release he had. And knowing that Stas, we would our whole team, every time Peter would come in the rink, the whole team would run over to him. Who's better? Forsberg or Sakic? And no matter what he said, half the team is fighting the other half. No, Forsberg's better. No, Sakic's better. That team was so much fun to watch. It was, and then we had Peter who played with them, so we got to ask him all the time. It was so freaking cool. We had this weird connection in St. Louis where all of our favorite team was the Avalanche for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it now in like a salary cap era. I mean, I don't know how many Hall of Famers they had on that one team, but between like Waugh, Blake, Bork, Foote, then all the forwards you just mentioned. It was incredible. And I mean, that's kind of how I fell in love with the game.
Unreal, man. Unreal. Well, you grew up in Denver and then you made your way off to the National Development Program. We've had quite a few guys that have played at the NTDP on here before to kind of share their experiences and stuff. What was it like moving away from home at such a young age and going into that atmosphere playing for the NTDP? Was it a pretty big culture shock for you? What was the transition like and what did you learn there?
So I actually left home when I was 13 years old. There was like no real high level hockey here. So I went to Canada and then Michigan before I went to the NTDP.
Okay.
So for me, and it's crazy now because now like I have friends here who have started hockey academies, and now there's kids from like Arizona and Texas who are like living here, which is so crazy to see because like when I was growing up in Denver, there was like 3 rinks that were like all 100 miles like away from my house. So the growth of hockey has been incredible here. So it wasn't that big of a transition for me because I had kind of been on my own there for so long. But I had an amazing experience at the program. I tell people all the time, like, if you're like one of those top guys, it is literally the best place in the world to develop. My brother Nick had an amazing experience there. My brother Quentin probably should have gone a different route than going there just because it's tough for some of those bottom end kids in the lineup. Like, you know what I mean? You go there, you don't make a play for 2 or 3 years. Then you go to college, you know what I mean? Don't make a play a lot as a freshman. Now you haven't made a real hockey play in 4 years, right? So it's kind of hard to turn that back on. But I had an amazing experience there. Like the day-to-day like level of competition that you get to face there was just amazing. And it's like I'm friends with so many guys that I played with there because I mean, going to school from 7 a.m. until 1 and then being at the rink from like 1 till 9 p.m. You know what I mean? It's just an incredible schedule. But yeah, like I had a great experience there and it really prepared me for college.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So Maddie and I, so for our podcast listeners, Maddie Thomas, who works with us here at the Hockey Think Tank and Coach Drew as a volunteer at Denver, we were literally talking about this the other day and how many kids that are at the NTDP are actually playing another year of juniors after their NTDP year, because there are kids who kind of go there. Maybe they don't fit into quite the top 6 or top 4 D roles. And then they kind of lose that offensive moxie mojo that got them there. And then they got to go recapture that before they go on to play in college in the next level. And so, yeah, it's pretty crazy to kind of see that. And it's what like development's a marathon, man. It's not a sprint. Don't be so eager to get to the next level. Marinate and get your skills, dominate the level that you're at before you go to. And doing what you're doing now as an agent and having seen some of the progression for some of these kids going up, like, would that be some advice that you would have for kids too?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. And like I said, my brother Quentin like went there and was a 3rd, 4th line guy. And I mean, if he would have went to the USHL, he would have been running like a half wall on a power play, right? And I think that would have really helped him more kind of as he transitioned going to in college. But as you said, it's like a marathon, but taking large breaks off at any given point like really hinders your chance of success. So it doesn't really matter like where you're starting, but like if you're continually running faster and faster. But it's like those kids who like kind of when I was talking about that thing, I think we were off podcast, but it's like whoever the best kid is at 14 is like very rarely the best kid at 21 because they stop developing at some point. But whoever that kid is who's like really good and then continuously gets better every year is going to be the next, you know what I mean? Whatever you want to call him, Austin Matthews or something like that. So that's definitely some advice I give. And I think too many kids are so like, I mean, it's an honor to represent your country and play for the national program. Don't get me wrong, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the best fit for everyone in where they are in their development.
Weird. You guys listening, rewind it. That's not me and Toph talking. That's Drew here talking. Just somebody else saying the same thing that we say. Development is a process.
And I mean, I think it's true. You see it a lot at the college level too, right? Like if you're a Michigan kid and like you're a pretty good player, like if you really want to give yourself a chance to play in the NHL, you might be better going to Michigan State in Western Michigan if you're going to go to Michigan and not play for like 3 or 4 years. Like it's great that like you want to be a Michigan Wolverine and that's great, but like if you want to give yourself the best chance to be a professional hockey player, you have to continuously develop every year. And sometimes like choosing too high end of a program where you're not going to play is not the best fit.
First of all, I do believe that Western Michigan is a top like 8 team right now. So let's just.
I saw that jersey there.
Oh God, let me get this dagger out of my back real quick here, Shorzy. No, but honestly, I literally, it is funny you said that, and I say this on our podcast all the time. I literally went to Western Michigan because I knew that I was going to play more than any other school that was talking to me. And my goal was to not play 4 years in college and try and sign in the NHL. Now, I've told on the podcast a million times, everyone I told that to laughed in my face, but I made it happen 3 years after being at Western. And a big reason is because I played so much at Western, where who knows what I would have, if I would have played a lot at Ohio State or Northeastern or any other schools that I was talking to. So like, guys, this is a real thing. Like, you have to think about these things when you're getting to those higher level opportunities. Like, not only where are you going to play, who is the best coach, where's the most opportunity, who does, more video, who does more skill skates, like, what's the lineup looking like? How many left wingers are they losing next year? If you're a left winger, if they got 5 guys coming back and all of them played a lot last year, it's going to be harder to crack that lineup. Doesn't mean it's impossible. Doesn't mean you don't go to that place, but it's something that you should be looking at when you're looking at what school am I going to go to? Because for the most part, unless you obviously go into the portal, you're going to be there for 4 years. So you got to think about these things.
100%.
And I'd even take it a step further, Vex, like, that's not just at the higher levels too. Like, when you're a youth hockey parent and you're looking for a place that you want your kid to play, we say it all the time. The 2 biggest things that you should look at is who's the coach and are they good at developing players? And then, is my kid going to get an opportunity to play? If it's a coach that's all about winning and your kid's, number 16 out of 17 on the depth chart, you're not going to get better. Like, your confidence is going to get shot and you're not going to love the game. And when you don't love the game and you don't have any confidence, it doesn't matter how good the coach is, you're not going to get better. And so, it's true at the older ages and it's true at the youth too.
I want to add one caveat to that too, though. Also, like, if you do find yourself on a team where you're last on the depth chart, don't just give up right away. Find a way. I don't love the Topher and I have talked about on the podcast before, Drew, about the portal and how anybody can leave at any time and what that's done to college hockey. And I think there's some good to it. I also think there's some bad to it. But you guys were talking about USA and guys who go from being the most skilled to then you're playing a third or fourth line like your brother. One of my guys who, whenever he's in St. Louis, he trains with me, Hunter McCowan. He has some of the best hands I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, this guy is so silky. He went to the program and he played fourth line almost the whole time he was there, but wasn't a guy who would complain, wasn't a guy who would give up, embrace that role. And a few years later, I think he signed with the Blue Jackets after his sophomore year. And, talking to him and helping him through that time at USA and stuff when he would come back home in the summers, like, the reason that he signed was because when he got to college hockey, he could defend because he played a lesser role at USA. So, also within this, saying this, whatever role that you're in, Topher and I talk about all the time, you've got to find a way to excel at that role, earn more rope, and then work your way up the depth chart. Don't just give up because guys are ahead of you. Continue to grow because if you focus on that and every day your only goal is to get better and win the day, recover, come back, repeat, recover, come back, repeat, you're going to be moving in the right direction. And sooner or later, opportunity will find you and you're prepared to excel when you get that opportunity. So, like, that's something that has to be said. Like, you got to work your ass off no matter what position you're in.
Yeah, that's interesting and like a good point. Like, I was talking to like a defenseman the other day who was like playing in London, Ontario, and he was talking about like playing on the power play. But like, what a lot of these kids don't get is like, if you're a defenseman, like, learn how to defend. Because like, if you get drafted by like the Colorado Avalanche, like, you're never playing on the power play for the next 15 years. Like, so it's like, that's great that you're a power play guy, but like if you get drafted by, there's 3/4 of the teams in the league, right, who have one D-man who's better than you. So it's like, if you want to have a long NHL career, that's great that you consider yourself a power play D-man, but you're not going to be a power play D-man at the NHL. So like, learn to defend. But so many kids are caught up in like, well, I'm a power play guy at the junior level, where like, I think the focus should be like you kind of just said. It's like, okay, well, there's only so many power play D-men in the whole world. So if you want to make the NHL, you better be able to defend. So even if you think you're a power play guy, learn how to defend at the junior level so you can give yourself the best opportunity to play pro.
Versatility wins out in the end, doesn't it? Like, if you can play up and down a lineup and you can play a bunch of different roles, like, you're going to have to do that at some point in your career, whether it's junior hockey, college hockey, pro hockey. You're so right, man. You got to be a versatile two-way player because at some point you're going to be asked to do that. Every single one of us were at some point in our career.
Dude, Brad Marchand. When Brad Marchand got called up, I think he played like the first 18, 20 games. He had 1 assist. He was like a -4 or 8 or something. And he's playing fourth line. All of a sudden next year he's like plus 40, has, 3/4 a point a game. And from then on, after that, it was just see ya.
Someone was asking me about this the other day, and I couldn't think of a better name. Someone asked me, has there ever been a guy who's broken into the NHL as a legit fourth line player and then turned into a bona fide like superstar? And obviously they were talking about Brad Marchand, but I couldn't think of anyone else who like literally is like on Canada's Olympic team, like first line, who broke into the NHL as a fourth liner. And like, I couldn't think of any name. And I don't know if you guys like, he might be the only guy ever to do that.
Great
That's
question.
really interesting.
Oh
question. Man, that's a great trivia question right now.
Yeah,
but would you? So like, my only question to that is, in the AHL, he was having a point a game at that point.
Yeah.
So it's
that's
like he wasn't a fourth liner, but he gets called up. He's playing, but he played the whole rest of that season on the fourth line. I mean, yeah. But it's not like he was a meathead and all of a sudden now he's disgusting. Like, but that's a great guy. Yeah, probably not. Probably nobody.
It's
that's
crazy,
wild.
Yeah. But I mean, he's a guy who's just gotten so much better every year. I mean, now his plays on Crosby's wing in the Olympics.
Is that good? Well, that's great, man. Well, you got the opportunity to go and play at the University of Denver and play in your hometown for college hockey for 3 years. You were a captain your junior year, had a great career. One of the people I wanted to ask you about, and this guy is an absolute legend in college hockey. You got the chance to play for George Gwozdecky as a head coach. And we've actually had Gwaz on. I think we were telling you earlier, he was number 4, number 4. And now we're on 350 something or something like that. But just a great coach. But Steve Miller, who everybody calls Killer, he's probably going to go down as the best assistant coach ever in college hockey. Him and Grant Stanbrook have both been kind of like legends from an associate head coach, assistant coach standpoint, whatever you want to call it. Winning national championships at different places, being the associate head coach of Minnesota right now and seeing what he's done with Coach Motzkow in that program. Can you talk a little bit about Steve Miller and what he meant to you in that Denver program when he was there and kind of like what makes him so special? And for those that don't know, he's also a coach on the U.S. World Junior team every single year, even though the head coaches are kind of filing in and out. Like he's always there. He's just so respected in our game. What makes him so good?
I mean, I think I would start with him as just he's an amazing human being.
Yeah.
Like I think he's a guy who he cares so much about his players, and like that's so evident on a day-to-day basis. And I mean, as you guys know, we both played a long time. A lot of coaches claim to care about their players, but then, I mean, at the end of the day, that's not necessarily the case. This guy like lives and breathes that day in and day out. And that's how I felt every single day. And he's also a guy who's just so competitive that like, even if he's an underdog in something, like he's just a guy you want to go to battle with. And I'm sure you guys know those guys, but like, he's a guy you'd bring into any fight in any sport in any kind. And I think that's why he's had the success he has, because like if you're a coach who wants to go in and build a program, he's a guy you build with. And I think that a lot of his ability to recruit kids is through his effort just to kind of show them how much he cares about them. And I mean, I think if you interviewed any of his former players in any program, they would probably all say the same thing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, guys that I know that played for him will run through a brick wall for him any day of the week. There's no question. And it was really interesting. Like I feel like in some of my hockey conversations that I have with him, he's so good at just like breaking everything down and communicating it simply for you, And I remember we had him. It was him, Benny Sire, who at the time was an assistant at Cornell, and Todd Connaught, who at the time was with Mankato. Now he's with Mike Hastings in Wisconsin. Benny's the head coach in Princeton. But it was during COVID, and I did this little YouTube series, and I had the 3 of them on just to kind of talk college hockey recruiting, and just the way that he broke it down. It was just so simple. Like so incredibly simple, almost to the point where it was like, hey, if I'm going to go down and talk to the kid, like I want to like talking to the kid because I'm going to have to spend 4 years with him, and if he's a bit of a jerk and I don't want jerks around me for 4 years. Like, I just want good people, and was that something too? I feel like he's almost like a hockey savant, a hockey genius. He knows the game so well, but he's got such a great ability to communicate it where the message come across and you understand, and it makes you smarter and better talking to him.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the point you touched on about like guys will run through the wall, like, you know what I mean? Like, if he's a guy behind my bench, I'm blocking the shot 10 out of 10 times. You know what I mean? Like, if Bob Hartley's behind my bench, I might pretend to get the shooting lane, but I don't really. I might be getting out of there. But like Steve Miller, I would literally block a puck with my head for. And I think that one of the coolest things at Denver is, like, as you guys know, like Dave Carl's one of my closest friends. And I mean, you can make an argument that like he's one of the best coaches in the world now outside the NHL. But I think if you talk to him, a lot of his success would come from like the 4 or 5 guys that he learned from and kind of blended his own style from. And I think Steve Miller played a huge role in that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What, so David's obviously doing pretty well right now.
Oh yeah.
At Denver and winning gold medal with Team USA at World Juniors and stuff like that, being so close with him. Take us a little bit into his specialness. Like, what makes him, such a special coach?
Well, for me, it was so cool. And I have to remind him this on a day-to-day basis, but I knew him when like he was the 4th assistant and he would come pass us pucks before practice. Right. So he was supposed to play at DU, and then went to the combine, was supposed to be a first-round pick. They found that heart condition, so he had to retire on the spot. So he basically became a volunteer coach. So that's actually one of the things when people talk about how he's like the youngest coach ever to do all these things. That is all true, but like he's been coaching since he was 18, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? So this is actually, I don't know how, I mean, he's probably 35 now. Like, you know what I mean? So he's been coaching for 17 years. So like, yes, he's very young, but like he's kind of seen it all and done it all through all of these years of coaching. But I think that I got fired in Russia probably like 3 or 4 years ago and came back to Denver and just kind of practiced with him. And I feel like a lot of coaches, at least that I played for, even at the NHL level, are either like hockey geniuses or kind of John Coopers of the world in like the best people managers. And I think that Dave Carl, there's very few people who have the ability to do both. And I think that he is one of those truly special people who can like lead a group of men and be a hockey genius at the same time. And I think that that's pretty rare in the game today.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It is like you almost get pegged as a coach sometimes too. You're like kind of like a data analytics systems and structure guy, or you're like a motivational player coach guy. Hey, like I feel like that's just an easy way. And I think there's coaches that are both to certain capacities, but yeah, you probably tend to lean one way or the other. And if you can really nail down both sides of that, that's special, man. Just not that many that can do that, to say the least.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see kind of what he does from here, but it's been awesome to see his success.
Yeah, for sure.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
I want to get into a few things with you here, Drew. You're pretty active on social media now with Twitter, and you've had some unbelievable posts. And Vex and I we might have even read one of your posts on a previous podcast before this. I don't know if you read it or summarized it or whatever, but you got a couple that I want to kind of go through with you. And the first one was random thought on NHL player development. This is the time of year where teams send players to the AHL, and this is in end of October. So right kind of like after the season starts. This is the time of the year where teams send players to the AHL so they can regain their confidence, quote unquote. This almost never works. More organizations should start players in the AHL and then recall them for good when they are simply too good for that league. Rushing them before they are ready and then sending them back down normally hurts their confidence and is a bad move. If a team truly wants to help a player, they should surround themselves with better players / give them more ice time / easier matchups / more offensive situations and power play time, etc. AHL demotion is really only effective and should be used if player needs attitude adjustment or work ethic issue. Just my thoughts. So I had a couple questions for you on that. Like, what motivated you to write that? Was it personal experience, maybe your brothers, something that you're seeing with some players that you maybe represent? Obviously you're a smart hockey guy, so that has a lot to do with it too. But what's the method to the madness there too, and why you think it's much better to kind of marinate and go up for good rather than get thrown into the ocean without a life paddle and then have to be dropped down a peg or two.
Well, I think you see it more now, right? Like, I mean, you guys, especially Jeff, played a little bit different, but I feel like now, the bad teams are really bad, right? You know what I mean? Almost worse than they were. So these teams are clearly focusing on development, which enables a lot of these young kids to play at an early age. And when some of them are struggling, a lot of the media and stuff, the first thing to turn to is I'll send them to the American League to gain more confidence. And I was reading an article about a media guy who wrote, I don't need to go into the player or the media guy, but basically this team should send this player down to gain confidence. And I was laughing because it's we've all played with 1,000 players. No one in the world goes from being at the Ritz-Carlton and playing on the NHL power play to then being on the bus in Milwaukee and is gaining confidence from that experience, right? It's a joke. It's just such a dumb, now, like I said, do I think if a kid is not working hard enough or needs to change his habit, I think that can be effective to especially if you want to show a kid hey, maybe you're not taking full advantage of this opportunity, or you need then send them down, you know what I mean, and make them realize how good the NHL and special is. But I was just laughing on the article saying regaining his confidence. But I think that you said, you start to see it, there's better ways if you truly care about the kid, and he is a kid who's all in, he's a kid who's the future of your organization, sign better players for him to play with. You know what I mean? Help him more. But the whole narrative of oh, he hasn't scored in 8 games, he should go score in the minors. Well, even if this kid goes and scores 3 goals in his first game in the minors, he's still not going to have confidence at the NHL level. The only way to get confidence at the NHL level is by having success at the NHL level. And I think that that's something that people don't exactly realize. But I do think more and more of these teams should start kids who are fringe in the American League until they are simply too good. Because if you can't score in the American League, you're not going to score in the NHL. But if you're you know what I mean? If there gets to a point where certain guys are just too good for the American League, then call these guys up and let them play. But I think that going the other way, I think just with kids' confidence, and it's just not good for anyone.
Yeah, totally. Vex, I mean, you obviously played at that level and had a lot of guys go up and down. What were your experiences? Even you talked about Marchand, right? He started in the AHL and played there for a while before going up. What were your experience like with that?
Well, I obviously I totally agree. It doesn't make sense to be oh, I need to get confidence. We're going to send him to a level that's not as good. and it's well, yeah, he should score. So that if he doesn't, because
then he's in a real dark place. I said if he scored 3 goals his first game, but then if he doesn't score in the American League, then he's oh.
And then he's getting on the bus and he's reading "Don't Kill Myself" books. It's I've seen that, but it's different than when I started pro in 2008, they weren't giving younger players NHL, not giving, but they weren't having a lot of younger players start in the NHL. It was the other way. Everybody went to the AHL for the most part, and then you had to earn your way up, which made a lot more sense. It also aggravated me, years later when I look back and I'm man, all these teams give all these young guys a game right away. And what would that have done to my confidence just to have a game and be oh my God, it is reachable. It is attainable, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me to send guys down, and the coaching that you're going to get, the attention that you're going to get, the lifestyle that you have, the ability to have more time in your day, not riding the bus and all these things. You can use so many of those resources to get a lot better in the NHL too. And just watching guys in the NHL practice. So the AHL is an amazing league. Don't get me wrong, but the guys in the NHL are the absolute best in the entire world. Just by skating on the same ice with them and watching the tiny little things that they do, you're going to pick those things up. And if you're smart, you're going to start trying to use them and put them into your game, which I think would help you get better quicker than if you're down in the AHL. And The guys that are like on that fringe, like they hate being in the AHL. They absolutely hate it. So if your only thought process from a management standpoint is how do we get this kid back to playing at the level we need him to play to be in the NHL, yeah, I probably think that more often than not, sending him down to the AHL is probably not the right call.
Crazy. We should all just be GMs, man. Let's go.
It's so easy from this podcast.
I think it's interesting because, I had the opportunity to coach a lot of guys that are in this kind of scenario right now when I was at Michigan a few years ago. And I look at like Frankie Nazar, right? First round pick for the Blackhawks, starts in the AHL. He's a point a game player in the AHL, probably going to get called up pretty soon. And I don't think there's any chance he's going back down. Like he's almost outplaying the league. Gavin Brindley, same thing. He got hurt at the beginning of the year, might've made the team going up in Columbus, but now he's in Cleveland. He's putting up a point a game in the AHL. Seamus Casey actually started off in New Jersey. And I think it was because of injuries. And then he kind of went back down, but same thing, like he's point a game in the AHL, probably not going to play another AHL game once he gets called back up. And then Rucker McGroarty started in the NHL too. And he got sent down to Pittsburgh and it's been a little bit tougher for him, and that's
but
difficult.
see, like, I think that's the biggest mistake. Like for the fringe guy, starting him in the NHL is the mistake, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Like the fringe guy, like the Frankie Nazar or whatever, like have him go to Rockford. If he has 50 points in the first 40 games, then let him play second or third line in the NHL for the rest of the year and have a lot of success. Like then he realizes how good the NHL is, realizes that he never wants to go back to the American League. And like, that's a good development path, I think, versus like you said, the other kid who I kind of had a similar experience too, is like has a little bit of success in the NHL, then gets sent down, then starts to struggle, then it spirals out of control.
Sure. Yeah. And it's tough, man, especially like when you're thinking about like really, really talented players that may have never been cut before, may have obviously never get sent down before. And that is something you don't realize emotionally until it happens to you. You can feel it with a family member or a best friend or something that kind of goes through it. But until you get sent into that coach's office and he's telling you, hey, you're going back down to ride a bus, especially if that's the first time you've ever been cut, like that ain't easy. That ain't easy for sure, to say the least. So yeah, I thought that was a really good tweet. And the other tweet that I had, and I'm sure, this went pretty viral in the hockey world. So here we go. So here's the tweet, and I'll read it back for the listeners just to kind of give you a semblance of what it was, because I thought this was awesome. And this is Drew. He says, I retired from playing professional hockey in 2021. I started playing professionally in 2011 after I signed a contract with the Florida Panthers and decided to leave the University of Denver after 3 seasons. I felt completely burnt out when I decided to stop playing, could not understand why, after playing professionally for only 10 seasons. I always thought I was going to be the guy who played until he was 40. Recently, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, Derek Armstrong, who helped me crystallize my thoughts on why this occurred. Derek and I had very similar skill sets and talent levels. Let's begin by comparing our careers. Derek, 17 years pro, 477 NHL games, over 1,000 pro games, retired at 37. Drew, 10 years pro, 99 NHL games, 322 pro games, 1 million healthy scratches, and retired at 30. From the time I was 3 years old, I shot pucks every day. I did this because I thought I had to in order to make the NHL. Derek shot pucks every day because he thought it was fun and genuinely enjoyed it. When I moved away from home when I was 13 to play hockey in Vancouver, and that was the year I mentally made hockey a job. I never once felt any pressure from either of my parents. This was simply the way I was wired at an early age. Derek played with his buddies every day on a pond until he turned 18. He didn't think hockey was a job until his first NHL game at 20 years old. This is an important lesson for both players and parents. I now realize that when I retired at 30, I felt exhausted because I had been treating the game like a profession for 17 years. It is impossible to reach the pinnacle of any profession without years of hard work. The best players love their work. They enjoy every part of the game, which enables them to sustain energy and be successful for many years. You have to find a way to fall in love with the daily grind, or else long-term success is impossible. This applies to sports and everything else in life. And dude, like obviously it went viral and it struck a chord with a lot of different people, myself and Vex included, because I think it's so well written and so freaking true at the end of the day. So can you kind of just tell us a little bit about like what compelled you to write that? and just kind of the response that you got from the hockey world after putting that out on Twitter.
Well, yeah, like I said, like when I retired, I was like exhausted. And I mean, a lot of that, I was on a lot of different teams and a lot of different leagues, but like I felt like I played for 25 years. Like, you know what I mean? Pro. Like mentally, that's how I felt. And I couldn't figure out why that was for so long. You know what I mean? And then Army, who's an absolute character, one day I was just like having lunch with him and we were kind of talking about it because he coaches kids now. And I don't do any of the coaching, but like we were just kind of talking about kids and stuff like that. And I mean, this guy, like, we both loved hockey, but like he kind of felt like hockey was never a job for him. You know what I mean? Like he just kind of felt like he loved it. And I felt like it kind of made me realize for the first time in my life that like when I moved away at 13, like I was putting the pressure. It was funny because my parents, like none of this ever came from my parents at all, which like I feel like a lot of kids, I'm sure as both you see, like it comes from the parents. But like my parents didn't even know anything about hockey. Like they were just like, whatever you do in life, do it hard. Like they didn't care if that was school, art, sports, whatever it was, you know what I mean? So it was like really kind of evident that for the first time, like literally this conversation made me realize that that was why I felt like I played for so long. And I mean, you see a lot of the guys, like you even saw it during like Thornton's retirement speech, right? Like a guy who played forever, but was clearly a guy who just loved being around the guys and played hockey. Like I don't think he was going to the rink every day like he was clocking in for his job, like I probably was, right? So I think that, I mean, I'm sure like you guys see it, but I mean, like, you're not going to ever get there unless you're willing to do all the work. But like your attitude and mentality towards that work is so vastly different, especially like between the two of us. Like I was working out every day, twice a day, because I knew I had to do that to get to the NHL. He was more of the mindset, like I get to do these things, right? You know what I mean? It's what I love to do. And I think that it was just such an important thing that literally this lunch conversation kind of made me realize from my own career that I thought it would be useful to kind of share with people.
I love that, man. I love that so much. And I think everybody needs to hear that because one of the things that we talk about a lot, whether it's on the podcast or other things that we do, is how professional youth hockey has become and how, because so many adults treat it like a job now, it just filters into the players and they feel like it's a job and the pressure's put on them at such a young age. And that's one of the things that I feel like I don't see as much with kids coming up as I used to, is like, there's like most people kind of do think of it as a job, like that love, that passion for it. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's seeped out of the game, but it's certainly not where it was when we were coming up and when I was coaching even 10 years ago at the college level. Like, and that's got to change. Like that's got to change for a lot of different reasons, for the health and the growth of our sport, number one, because people are hearing about hockey or first generation parents are like, these people are nuts with how they treat it like a job so young. And they're not either coming into the sport or they're getting out of it pretty quick, but also for like the elite players that you're talking about, like if you want to play at the highest levels, yeah, you got to work, but you got to freaking love it too. And I think those two go hand in hand. Like, I think you're actually probably a special case where you thought of it as a job and you still got to where you got to. I think most kids, if not like 99% of kids who think of it as a job, they don't end up making it because they fall out of love with it and then they don't want to work at it anymore. And you always got to continuously want to work at it. And so like, it's just, we need to do a better job of adults is making sure that we're creating environments where kids are falling in love with the game, not thinking it's a job. And I don't know if you guys see that, but it's something that I see a lot. It's something that parents talk to me about a lot. And I think it's got to change.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I think that you mentioned it, but just like everything else in our society today, some people took it way too far the other way. Well, like, oh, if you love every day, and I'm not saying like you love every day, but like if you're the best player in the world, like you love being in the gym, you love being on the ice, and of course you're gonna have days that are better than others and stuff like that. But that's not to say that your commitment level should be any lower, but it's just your attitude and how you approach that day-to-day grind should be significantly different.
I love that, man. Yeah.
Do you think that there's anything coaches could have done in like maybe your teenage years to have fostered more of a love for the work that you had to put in to achieve the status that you did? Or do you think that was kind of more just your mindset?
I think it was more on me because I mean, I would say pretty similar to most players, had some great coaches, had some bad coaches, kind of had the full bag, but I think that was more on just kind of how I was wired. And I'm kind of trying to help that mentality make me have my second phase of life be successful as a result of that. But it's just something that I said, I think that, I don't know if it was like moving away from home at such an early age, you know what I mean? Because like when I was in Vancouver as a 13-year-old, like I was there in my own mind to make the NHL. Like that's why I moved to Vancouver. And like I thought about that a lot as a 13-year-old. So I don't know if it was that, like if I grew up in Michigan and I was playing at home with my parents and living at home, like I don't know if I would have necessarily had that mentality, but I think that was, I don't know if there was something a coach could have done at that point in my life to change my mindset. I think that's just kind of how I was wired.
That's interesting because I left home right before I turned 16. I lived with Toph my first year. So my aunt, my uncle. But Toph was playing in the USHL as the youngest player to ever play in the USHL at the time. Not a big deal. Pretty gross.
Wow.
Yeah, gross. So like our schedules were totally different. He was a grade ahead of me. He's so much older than me. Old balls, loose skin. Gross. And so it didn't really get to hang out with Toph like too much because I was playing midget AAA. He's playing in the USHL, and I had fun every day for sure, no doubt about that. I like one of my things is like make everything I do fun. But that was something I probably picked up a few years later. But also like I think it's kind of the same thing because I moved away so young. Like I'm like laser focused and too much sometimes. And like, I also now, you know, I'm 39, and I don't even, and I don't know how any other way to be successful than like go at things 100%. And like, sometimes other things that maybe I should stop and take a breath or like have some time for, I don't allow because I'm just like I'm going at this. And I do think maybe part of that is because I left home at such a young age, and that did change my mindset on things. And nobody was saying you got to play pro hockey or you got to get a scout or anything like that. But like, I was kind of like, well, I made this decision to move away from home so young. Like I have to make this work.
You see a lot of like elite players too, who have like almost more of this. Cause I was kind of how you are, like so focused, so dialed in, but like when things were going bad, like when I wasn't scoring, say at the American League level, like that's all I was thinking about 24/7. And I think that like these guys who are better, like have this ability to like, I mean, Austin Matthews doesn't score for one game. I don't think he's losing sleep over it. I think he just knows like he's got this confidence, like, all right, well, I'm scoring next game for sure. I probably was losing sleep at night being like, oh my God, one game could turn into 5 games without a goal. So I think there is like a level of being dialed in, but also like being able to have like this relaxed confidence that a lot of elite players have that I didn't have either. I was kind of more like you, like never able to turn it off and always thinking about things, worrying, like kind of stuff like that. So I think there's an element to that too that people don't really talk about.
So true.
True.
I have a buddy who's still playing. He's my first ever pro client. I think he's on year like, I don't know, 16 or something pro. He's playing in Europe, and it's amazing. He could be the last guy back, you know, coming around the net. He's trying to go end to end with the puck on the power play. He can turn it over. He'll get scored on, and it's everybody else's fault in his own head. And I mean that in the best way possible. If I did that, I'd lose sleep for a month. I'd be so mad. I'd be so embarrassed that I made a boner play and we got scored on and we lose the game. And in his head, he's like, well, they didn't get open for me. And he just could go right on to the next play. And it really does help him. He's able to let things just roll off his back. And I've always admired it and been like, man, if I would have had more of that and less of my like, that really could have helped me.
Yeah, I think you burn yourself out. Like I'm every day of my life like so high, so low, and that's how I really was during my career. But a lot of those guys, who like your buddy who played a super long time, kind of have like the Joe Thornton mentality, where they're the hardest worker on the ice, but mentally they have this ability to just kind of let things roll off their back, and they don't lose too much energy or effort like worrying about every single thing that goes on in a game or a week or a month.
Man, that is
I know Toph was not that way either. He was like us.
Oh yeah, I'm fitting in on this podcast with you two.
That's why we're all on this podcast, not playing hockey, right? It's like exactly. That's what happened.
You know what though? It is true, man. Like I like as you're kind of talking and Vex you too. Like you kind of think back to your own career, and at the times when you thought of it as a job, were probably the times when you were struggling. You know, you were still working and putting in the reps and you cared and all that stuff that helped get you there. But there was this, you know, this little thing that just kind of held you back from playing to your true potential because you weren't I don't want to say you weren't doing what you love to do, but that mentality that you talked about, Drew, like it was something that I had to do to get better. You know, I had to do this to make the level and whatever it may be, but like shifting from that mindset to like what you said, I get to do this. And that's Vex used to talk about that. I don't have to do this. I get to do this, man. I'm grateful for this opportunity and let's make the best of it, rather than like, shit, I'm in this opportunity, I better continue to make the best of it or else kind of thing. I think it's something that a lot of high achievers go through. And if you can figure out how to play that mental dance with yourself and, you know, continue to push yourself and treat it as such, but also give yourself a little bit of grace and give yourself a little bit of balance with it too. Finding that is extremely, extremely hard for people who are very committed. But once you can, it's like a whole nother lease on life, to say the least.
Were you able to find that towards the end of your career, Drew, at all, or just looking back now, being like, man, and now that you know it, are you able to apply it in your life outside of hockey a bit, or still?
I don't know if I ever found it during my career. I think that I got better at it during certain parts of my career, but I wouldn't say I ever found it. But I do think it's something that now that I'm retired, I do try, and I think it's helped me a little bit that I have a better understanding it now in my day-to-day life, but I don't think I ever really found it during my career.
Yeah, I definitely got better as I got older, but I wasn't playing in the AHL. I was playing in Austria or Norway or Japan, places where the pressure, even though the pressure was like, you better score because, you know, you're the guy on this team.
You're the import.
Yeah. But like, I knew that like I could score easier or whatever, you know, play better, easier. So I think that might have had an ability. I now, because I coach so many players about like, this is one of the things, like, I don't just do the gym. I try and I'm always work with them on their psychology and mindset and things like that, try and help them with these kind of things. And I think outside of hockey now, like my business life, I think I'm able to kind of start to put those things together. But it's also something that Toph and I have been talking about twice a week, every week for 6 years. So I think that this type of thing is I don't know, cathartic or whatever the word would be. Toph's the Ivy League guy here.
It's called therapy, Vex.
Yeah, like,
it's called therapy.
It's allowed me to reflect and then try to, you know, use these things in my daily life, which I think have helped me be more successful and more happy in everyday situations rather than just being 0 or 100, which I used to be.
Yeah, I also kind of had like an all or nothing mentality, even like when I like retired in my day-to-day life. You know what I mean? Whether it's like with your trying to think of something that you probably talk to kids about. I'm sure you talk to kids about their diet, right? Like just because you have like, if I have like I used to have a mentality where I was either on or off, right? So if I was off, if I was off, like, you know what I mean? Like if I had one beer, that meant I could have 10 and eat unhealthy.
Beers.
All the beers and eat shitty too, right? But like that's such a bad way to be too, right? Like you can still have a win of a diet day having one, I mean, not that we really need to get into this here, but like, you know what I mean? And I was just such an all or nothing. And that's kind of how I was as a player too. Like I was never just like in that middle. I was either playing great or I was bad. So, and I think that hurt me a lot on the ice too, just because like one coach called me an enigma at the NHL level, which actually I didn't know what the word was at the time. I was 22 or 23 years old. And I forget this meeting, but I mean, he was right. Like, he was like, you know what I mean? I just never know what I'm going to get at you, right? Like you have the ability to some games, some periods of games, you can dominate the game. Other times I can't even trust you on the ice. And that's not a good place to be as a player either. So I think it really hurt my on ice play as well.
Yeah, man. One of the best things was meeting my wife. I am terrible with moderation. I'm the same as you. Moderation is not a word that I understand. Yeah. It's all or nothing in everything that I do. The food, especially. It's a cheat. Yeah, I'm going to, there we go. But like, she is so good with that, man. Like, and it's really taught me a lot. And even though it's not in my nature, it's something I've seen, and like, I want that so much to be better at that. One mistake isn't going to kill everything.
Yeah. One mistake doesn't have to kill the day. You know what I mean? I used to be like, one mistake killed the day. Like if I didn't get up and work out, it was like the day was off. Like not like could maybe work out later in the day or still do good, like have a recovery day or something. But like mine was just, I kind of have the exact same.
Well, totally, man. Well, we appreciate you hopping on with us here today. The last thing I have for you is just one, just kind of tell our listeners kind of like where they can find you on social media and stuff, because you are a great follow. But you also have a podcast yourself that you started called Betting the Limit, and you've had some unbelievable guests on there already. Talk a little bit about kind of why you wanted to start the podcast and what it's about.
Yeah, I mean, as you guys know, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of fun, but just kind of when I was lost, when I first retired, wanted to get in the business world, didn't have a lot of experience, so wanted to kind of personally talk to athletes who retired from sports, whether that was NBA, MLB, NHL, and who are now doing really cool things, and just kind of pick their brain on how they went about that process and mistakes they made, lessons they learned. And it's been awesome. It was something that I did for one season, kind of half in, half out, and just kind of fell in love with it. And of everything I'm doing, that's probably one of my favorite things to do, is just sit down with someone who's super interesting and has had most of these guys have had a ton of success, ton of failures, and just kind of learn from them all. And it's been fortunate to have some good guests lately, and that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, you have. One of the guests I want to ask you about is a guy that I follow really closely on social media, Sahil Bloom.
Yeah.
Like, he is, like, everything that he puts out there is insane. Like, how did you set that up, and what was that experience like, getting the chance to talk to him? Vex, I'm sure you follow him too.
So that was super cool. I won't get into this here, but basically through my podcast, I realized that like the days of athletes like retire, like basically I started a company that now helps athletes through retirement, whether they played the East Coast League for 4 years and now want a job in real estate, or they were an MLB player with 200 million and now want to be their own VC fund. It's called Amalfi. We're just getting that rolling. I realized that like traditional networking is dying, and the only way to truly get these elite CEOs to give back time to athletes is to set these events up over things they're passionate about. So for example, like we threw this golf event at Shadow Creek Golf Course, which is like, if you're a golfer, so a lot of CEOs who probably wouldn't give athletes a ton of time a day dropped literally midweek calendar to go play golf at Shadow Creek. Same thing we did this fitness thing, right? So a lot of them, like at the golf event, we had 72 players, half athletes, half CEOs. We did the same thing with wellness. So Vex, this is cool. We brought 30 guys, 15 athletes, 15 CEOs to Aspen in October. And all we did was like hike, workout, cold plunge, had people talk on stuff. So that's how I met Sahil. He came to the event. We did a podcast there, and it was awesome. But I mean, he's a guy I respect a lot because he had a pretty cushy job in private equity after playing baseball at Stanford, and then just literally like quit it all, moved back home because he wanted to be closer to his parents who were getting older, and kind of became an entrepreneur, and is crushing every single thing that he's doing. So he's a cool guy. And I mean, I love his stuff too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time. We're going to keep you for a couple more minutes, and we're going to do a 10 questions with you that's going to air in our Hockey Think Tank community. If you're not in there yet, you got to get in there. Go to community.thehockeythinktank.com, and you'll get access to more stuff with our podcast guests like Drew, along with some more exclusive hockey content from Vex, myself, and other high-level hockey people. But yeah, Drew, this was awesome, man. It was great to get the chance to talk to you, and I really appreciate your time here today.
Thanks for having me on, guys. I like what you guys are doing, and it was fun.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.